Hello, everybody. Scotty Milas, ScottMilasFranchiseCoach.com. Another episode of All Things Considered Franchising. Don't be afraid to want to know, and what's your why? I have the pleasure, and I have to say I'm pretty excited about this because, I've been in the industry for a long time, and I've met a lot of people, and most people in the franchising industry are interesting. Everybody has their own kind of character associated with them. But my guest today, Red Boswell, is probably one of the most unique, qualified, interesting people that I've ever met in the franchising industry. He is kind of that North Star that is, just kind of bright, that shines over the industry. Probably one of the best master of ceremonies I've ever met. Somebody who probably knows every element about franchising. Just an all-around great guy, family guy, kids. President of IFPG, International Franchise Professional Group, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Everybody, please welcome Red Boswell. Oh, Red.
Scott, I'm looking for my tissues here. I'm blushing. Oh my gosh. I'm honored to be on here when Scott Milas snaps his fingers, Red jumps. Let's do it.
Yeah. But, I hope everything's going well. And, I guess my first thing I would just want to mention, can you believe it's almost Thanksgiving?
No joke. Man, this year has been the greatest year ever in franchising and in IFPG, and yet it's flying by.
Yeah, it is. Wow. It's a great lead into, first of all, maybe share a little bit about yourself, because your tenure within the industry in a lot of different aspects, a lot of different positions, and your knowledge, and of course to tie into IFPG, which has really kind of solidified itself at this point, and will continue probably to be the #1 referral network for consultants like myself in the U.S. and probably internationally, I would think. And to be transparent with everybody on this, I am a member of IFPG. I don't call it a, quote, franchise, but I do call it, quote, a license agreement in some ways. It's kind of got some of those tailored qualifications. And I rely on IFPG for things and questions that I have, reaching out to you, the IFPG team. And of course, more importantly, for my clients, those 400, 500 brands that are really strongly validated. And we know that their systems are, there are no red flags, at least that we're aware of in our due diligence, to be able to present as options to our clients. So maybe take a few minutes, Red, and just tell everybody about yourself, maybe your story, and of course, IFPG, and then we'll get into some more things about the franchise industry.
Well, when you say my tenure is significant, it makes me sound old, but maybe I am. And by the way, we're at 600 brands now. Wow. And growing, really blessed. I've been an entrepreneur for over 40 years, since grade school, and then helping people achieve their dreams in business for over 30 years. Been focused fully on franchising for about 20 years, and has the best 20 years of my life, having a blast. And certainly these last 4 years running IFPG has been the highlight of it all. I started out in franchising as a franchisor. I founded a unique service concept, realized I wanted to take it nationally through and help other people do what I had done and achieve that success. And so I did it through franchising. It was a real blessing for about 7 years, and then helped other brands do a lot of what I did, and specifically not make the mistakes that I had made along the way. And then transitioned into a chief development officer role for over about a 4-year period over to global brands. And then about 4 years ago, was blessed to transition here to take it at scale. I mean, if you've done it, I was the largest Z within that system, franchisor, franchisee. Then I helped a lot of franchisors do it. And then I led some global brands to do it. And I thought, what could be better? Well, helping a bunch of brands do it. And right. So now I get to help brands, help consultants, help suppliers, and really just, I wake up before my alarm every day because it's so fun.
That's great. One of the things about IFPG and what makes it really kind of an interesting, unique network of franchising professionals is that not everybody in the IFPG family has come from franchising. Sure, we have our people that were franchisees that are now consultants. We have people that were franchisors and, like myself, who helped build a franchise system, are now consultants. But we have people from all professions that we have trained, or you have trained IFPG, that have become very successful consultants and have made a difference in people's lives. Kind of that, life changer slogan that that you have developed. But tell me a little bit about what your feelings are about the consultant industry, how it's changed. And we all know, for someone like me who's been in this what seems to be like a lifetime, how the role of the consultant, not the broker, because we're not called brokers anymore, we're consultants, has changed, and the value it brings to someone who's looking for that life change event, business ownership for the first time.
Boy, what a great topic, Scotty. We've got, there are a couple thousand franchise consultants out there today. Okay. And people ask me sometimes, wow, is it saturated? Is it going to keep growing? Man, it's going to keep growing because people need us. I think it's like the real estate or realtors were in the 1950s. I bet in the 1950s, there were people going, man, I think the real estate game is saturated. And here we are 70 something years later, and it's 100 times bigger. Everybody needs, if you're looking to be an entrepreneur, if you're looking to take control of that career path and own it, you need an expert, you need a guide, you need somebody who knows the ins and outs of this life decision. And so the industry is still in its infancy, I believe. We've matured a lot. Maybe we're in the teenage years now, but it's come a long, long way from manual spreadsheets. Now the technology backing us to help us, the consultants, help their candidates, our candidates, way better. I mean, back then we had, you had a couple, 3 dozen brands that you could work with. Now there are, as you heard, hundreds and hundreds. We've become referral consultants. We've become the #1 source of awarded franchises outside of organic leads. #1, that was announced about 2 years ago, and it continues to grow and grow and grow. And yet, of all the franchises awarded, we're still just shy of 20% of them come through consultants. So much room for growth, and yet we've come so far.
Right. You have had your finger on the pulse of the franchising industry, as I said before, for a long time. And this industry has had some great things said about it, and it's had not so nice things said about it. And the evolution of franchising, when you kind of look at it, every once in a while you'll see something posted on social media or LinkedIn about somebody who invested in a franchise that it didn't work out, and they don't have some nice things to say about whether it's a consultant or the brand. Where do you see the industry today as far as playing a role in someone's career to develop wealth, to kind of escape that corporate America, kind of that balance in life? Where is the industry today compared to what it was, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, well, no matter how good you are as a person or as a company or as an industry, you're always going to have, we're a fallen world. You're going to have issues arise. I go to a church, boy, people talk bad about the pastor, and yet I've never seen him do a thing bad. Same thing with franchising. You're always going to have something go wrong. Fortunately for us in North America, especially Canada and the US, the consumer protection oriented government regulations surrounding our industry has elevated it to such a level of professionalism and risk, I should say extremely low risk. Most people don't realize that across the pond, across Europe, franchising is very much like network marketing. Now, I'm not hurting or besmirching, if you will, besmirching network marketing, but it's the Wild West still today in that arena. You can say you're going to be rich, and there's nothing people can do about it. With franchising, The buyer is so protected in North America with the legal regulations, what a franchisor can say and not say, how we can prove or not prove our financial performances and the representations around them. So yes, we have come so far, and it's the consumer wins. And
Right.
fortunately, you know what? When the consumer wins, the franchisor wins, and the whole industry wins, because we are now that trusted opportunity. When someone wants to buy a business, when someone wants to be their own boss, do they do it on their own? Less and less. They're going to a proven model, a model with support, a model with guidance, with branding, with everything needed, with the community, much like IFPG, to support you. You ramp faster, you have better profitability, you have better buying power, you have it all, and the risk plummets because of the consumer protection oriented nature of franchising in North America. So it's really come a long way. I couldn't be prouder of it. I say this all the time. People in my office get tired of hearing it, but there's never been a better time than now to be in franchising.
Right. Right. The audience there may be there are going to be quite a few people listening to this that may have never reached out to a franchise consultant before, and have always said, well, you know, what do I need a broker or a consultant for when I can do this on my own? I've had these conversations with people myself, and I think the most important part in the consulting part, at least in my clients, is building that trust factor, that comfort. I've always said that, look, you don't have to love me or really like me. You just really have to trust me and build that trust. So in your perspective, speaking to the audience that may be listening that's considering reaching out to a consultant for guidance, expertise, education on franchising, what are some of the things that they should consider, or questions that they should be asking that consultant, you know, in their due diligence to find the right person to work with?
Well, you have nothing to lose and you have nothing to lose and a whole lot to gain.
Right.
By working with a consultant. Not working with them, you can make some bad mistakes. I have occasionally, probably once every couple months, I have a friend or friend of a friend come to me and ask me for guidance, and usually, almost every time, frankly, they already have a plan. They're planning on buying XYZ franchise. Hey, great. Let's talk about what you are looking for. Why are you looking? And I start asking them, as you do, Scotty, and as any good consultant does, ask them a lot of questions. Get to understand their why, their motivation, their time allotment, their likes and dislikes, the amount of their exit timeline and strategy, their expertise and lack thereof. All those things and many more, we dive deep and understand. And guess what? I don't think there's been a single time that someone's come to me looking for advice and already have an idea of what they're going to
Right.
buy, that they bought that, because they
Right.
suddenly realize, oh my goodness, there is so much more to this world than a brick and mortar restaurant that I thought I might want to acquire. And nothing wrong with brick and mortar restaurants if that's your ideal opportunity, but likely it is not, because there is so much more from a profitability standpoint, from a time requirement standpoint, from expertise. And so when someone is looking to work with a consultant, one good conversation and you'll have a pretty good handle on if they're the right fit. Do you feel comfortable with them? Do you hear a level of expertise? Do you see them as a trusted advisor? Because that's what they are. They're like a marriage counselor. They are advising you on the biggest decision of your life, perhaps, next to your religion and your spouse. I mean, this is bigger than a house purchase. This is what you're going to do for the next 10, 20, 30 years and invest your life savings and beyond and your time and everything. So such a huge decision. You got to work with somebody that really is going to guide you through the steps and handhold you as you're looking at the FDD, because the franchisor, no, they're dating you, you're dating them, but still it's good to have a wingman, a wingwoman on the side, giving you insights, telling you questions to ask, reminding of you of why you're doing this and that, and just really handholding you kind of from the back seat of that car. The franchisor is driving you through the process, but that consultant's still patting you on the back, reminding you, whispering in your ear, and helping you make the wisest decisions for you and your family, because they know you and what your motivations are about as well as you do at this point.
Right. You know, one of the one of the biggest human elements or the psychology of human behavior in the relationship between a consultant and a client is fear and anxiety. I always tell people, look, this is the fun part when we get started looking at brands and everything. But, fear and anxiety does set in. I mean, I'm sure when you were making a decision to become president and you were talking to Don and everything, at some point, it may not be an extensive, but there's fear and anxiety on that side, on both sides. So there's always fear and anxiety. How would you suggest for people that are, at that fear and anxiety level in the beginning, just to pick up the phone and start talking to someone, where would you guide them? You talk about you got nothing to lose. Yes, it's 10, 15, 20 minutes initial phone call out of your time before you really start getting into that process. But other than you got nothing to lose, where would you say, kind of tell somebody or guide somebody into really kind of digging into their soul or their thought process? How do I make that step? Where do I go from here?
Well, I'm very visual, and I am a fanatic of knowing yourself. And so as a candidate, really understand you. Reading books and listening to great podcasts like this, it helps me understand me. And so once
Right.
I've gotten to that level of understanding me, I put it down on paper when I'm looking at opportunities, the pros, the cons, that whole Ben Franklin T-square where you're looking at, okay, what do I like? What do I not like? And then I'll do it several times. I'll wait a few days, do it again, wait a few days, do it again, and then put those T's together to look at what was really important, because a lot of things I'm concerned about don't make it to more than one. I'll also realize this has helped me so much, and a lot of my candidates that I've worked with, it's not decision time, guys. When you have that first date with someone looking for a marriage partner, you've got that fifth date, still not marriage time. You're dating.
Right.
It's
Right.
learning. It's learning about them, learning about the franchisors, learning if it's a good fit. So you're dating. You're not deciding. I get that. If you can get rid of one thing that will really help you get rid of fear of anxiety is, I'm still learning. I'm still dating.
Yep.
There's no decision. And I'm going to mark down my questions. I'm going to put down my concerns, my fears, and then I'm going to look at, maybe with my consultant, my advisor, what are really legitimate fears and what are things I just need to realize that's going to be there. I
Right.
can't control what Russia's going to do next month. And even if they do something bad, is it going to matter for my business? So
Right.
taking a level, I tell my candidates, if you get to a level of 80% in love, 80% feeling good, you're about there. You'll never be
Right.
100% guaranteed this is it. So you got to have some faith combined with expertise, knowledge, and common sense.
Right. I think that a lot of that also, when addressing or talking to your clients, and at least for me, is that nothing is perfect in life. I mean, there's, so when we say the perfect business, I kind of shy away from terminology like that. I say more of the ideal business, because look,
Yes.
Even if it was perfect, it doesn't mean it's still going to be hard work. You still got to build it. I mean,
you're not perfect,
right,
Mr.
exactly.
Candidate. So
Right,
you expect them to be.
So it's really interesting. Let's flash back 3 or 4 years ago, Red, because I always found this to be an interesting discussion, regardless of what political spectrum you come from. But the pandemic came upon us pretty quickly. It hit us. And a lot of people, at least for me, I know I had my secret drawer that I pulled out my folder, that my disaster plan, kind of my plan B if this wasn't going to work out. Were you surprised at what transpired, as far as the more people, investing in a business, getting out of corporate America in the last 2.5, 3 years, as I was? I mean, is that a fair question?
Each one of these questions could be their own 30-minute topic,
Right.
Yeah, of course. I mean, what an uncharted territory we went in, giving up so many of our rights for the sake of safety. There's pros and cons there, but the fact that so many people have got to work from home And so many people have always thought, man, I think I want to work from home, but I don't know. I think I want to be my own boss, but I'm not willing to take that risk. And now they're forced to work from home. And in a way, they are their own boss because no one's looking over their shoulder like they were in the office. They have more flexibility. They have more time to research. They've realized, I do like this home thing. I do like not having to commute forever in traffic. Wow. And then they do the research. They've had the test drive of working from home and test drive of partially being their own boss. I don't want to go back to that old life. And so, yeah, we've been an onslaught of people looking for the first time, been beautiful. And now as we transition out of that world, people don't want to transition back to the old world. We got the freedoms to go back to the office. They don't want to. They want to go. And, you know, I know the stock market's up and down all the time, but we've had an incredible stock market. And even with which is a funding source for franchises, and even with the interest rates going up, they're still really low compared to the last 50 years.
Exactly.
So, and they make, even if they go up a couple points, they're going to make such a minimal difference in your payments versus the benefit that you get when you're owning your own business. I think people that are fear-based blow that way out of proportion.
Right.
Oh,
Nope,
I can't do anything. Can't do anything now because the market's down 5% or the interest rates are up 3%. You hear that, and you know, guys coming from you and I'm just maybe I'm saying more than I should, but we're sitting there trying not to laugh out loud. You know, we're just sitting there going, "Are you kidding me?" And so you have to answer them or reply respectfully and kindly, but also try to call them out on it and go, "Guys, seriously." You've been traveling 90% of the time and you want to see your children's soccer games, and you're going to let a 5% dip in the market or a 2% bump in interest rates steal that from you?
Right.
Put it in perspective. I use that term so often, put it in perspective. Let's put it in perspective because suddenly the why is so gigantic and the obstacles are so tiny. You're getting in your own way with these lame excuses.
Yeah. Well, there's the quantitative decision, and of course, then there's the qualitative decision. You know, what's your priority? Is it qualitative or quantitative? I mean, obviously, if it's quantitative, then, you know, you're probably going to struggle being successful anyway. And that's not to say that you don't want to know the numbers. Of course, you want to know the numbers, the validation. I mean, I've been working with a client, you know, who is just knee deep into the validation. And I said, look, I said, that's great. I said, but do you like the system and do you like the brand? I mean, can you see yourself being successful? I said, because if you can't be or see yourself in that position being successful and following the systems and the best practices, I said, everything else is irrelevant.
Yes.
I mean, they can tell you they're making $20 million a year, but if you don't think you can do it or you don't believe in it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's like you're dating someone, and you're going to the level of meeting the parents and meeting the family. You don't need to go meet the parents and family if you don't love her or him. You know, it's like, you're now validation is critically important. You want to have great validation and understand and ask those questions, but you don't get to that stage unless you're about almost to the altar.
Right. Let's circle back to the consultant business. You know, you and I have talked about, you mentioned IFPG and the consultant's role. If someone is interested in becoming a consultant, much like what I do, what you've done, what should they be thinking about? What's, you know, obviously they can reach out to me and I'll put them in contact with the right people at IFPG to talk about, you know, the investment and the training and everything. But as a consultant or someone who's considering or wanting to say, hey, this is something I think I can do, what's the personality, the qualifications that somebody should have to think about going into this line of work as a consultant?
Well, certainly at the beginning, Scott, that's a great question. You want to have that passion. You don't have to be obsessed with it, but a passion for people, caring. You know, helping people achieve their dreams is wonderful for the right person. It's very fulfilling for the right person. So if you have a desire to be that trusted advisor consultant role, that's a foundational. Now, to me, there are three things to be successful, three traits is the wrong word, but three things to be successful as a consultant. Number one, you got to manage yourself well. You got to have that discipline. You know, you're at your house, man. Ain't nobody cracking the whip on you. You get up, you hit you get the Java and you go to work. You're not out mowing the yard in the middle of the day. You know, you are doing what matters. income generating activity. So number one is that. Number two, you got to be a trusted advisor. I mean, if you have a horrible voice, if you are selfish and don't come across as a trusted advisor, forget it. People are looking to you for guidance and advice. You don't have to be 60 years old to be a great consultant. You could be 25 all day long and be a good consultant, but you better be a mature, emotionally mature, guiding force that's not afraid to have the tough love conversations, guide people through next steps, and deal with people that are making a life choice. So you got to have that mentality. And lastly, you got to get some leads. I talk to folks, you know what I mean? I talk to guys and gals that are like, all right, well, I'm like, okay, what are you doing? You ready? You got trained. Let's go take over the world. They're like, all right, well, next week I'm going to the Chamber of Commerce luncheon. And then the week after I have a Optimist Club meeting one evening. Like, okay. Cool. I like networking too. What else? Well, I'm going to post something on LinkedIn tomorrow. Like, come on, we got to fill the pipeline. So get some good lead sources. Of course, IFPG provides you with all that. But those three things are,
Yep.
we go through another 50 that are all good and helpful and add upon success. But really, those three, if you don't have them, don't do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Red, your enthusiasm and within the industry, puts you in that ideal position to be president of IFPG, and I can tell you that everybody has their own fit. Fortunately for me, this is only this is my third move within the industry, and I think it's safe to say that the culture, I found that culture fit, because I think that's important for people. So again, I hope that IFPG continues with that culture and staying in lines of the ethics of what we do, because I think that's important. I mean, the ethics of making sure that we're guiding people and consulting with people in the right way and not providing misinformation.
Scott, thank you for saying that. And so I'm going to interrupt you because we have a balance that I continue to try to walk that tightrope. We're a very libertarian culture, not politically, but worldview, freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is an extreme statement, but if you're not lying, cheating, and stealing, come on. We're going to have fun together.
Right.
Work as much or as little as you want. Guide people through the process. While at the same time, if you have that freedom, unlimited opportunity worldview, you got to have some boundaries, because people are going to try to take advantage of it sometimes. And so we, as far as I know, are the only organization that has an ethics committee in this industry.
Right.
We have an ethics committee of members, mostly consultants, making sure people aren't stepping outside the bounds and doing things that are unscrupulous, making earnings claims they shouldn't, etc. So yes, I'm with you. Freedom, fun, libertarian culture that everybody wins with, an unlimited opportunity mindset, while still keeping the highest level of integrity. You heard me say at retreat, the I in IFPG stands for international officially, but I believe it stands for integrity and independence just as equally. Independent group with integrity, changing lives.
Yep. And listen, just to put a plug in, for a consultant, and if you are interested in pursuing this career, there are a lot. Look, you got to find your own comfort zone into what network you want to belong to, but you get to keep 100% of your money. So, I mean, I don't always want to make it about money, that quantitative, because there is the qualitative part I discussed, but it's nice when you help somebody out and get them through the finish line, and they call you up and thank you, but you get to keep.
Well, when you're looking at, Scott, when you're looking for an organization to tie your ship to be a part of, integrity of leadership, financial model, well, who gets the money, technology, inventory, ongoing support, culture, all those, I just grabbed 6 out of my head. All those are very, very important. If any one of those is off, step back. Wait a minute. Is there one that they're not all off? Because we strive every day to have the best integrity, best technology, best inventory, best support, best events, best. And if we have that, we're going to attract the right people, the best consultants.
Right. Well, I think if it's something that you want to do, you can do it, be the best. If it's not something you don't want to do or don't care to be the best, then I think that's where the dominoes really start to fall, and that's when issues start coming up.
Well, true, and yet some folks want to, but they don't have the
Yep.
resources, and we
Right.
have them. With our partner with Princeton, we have got every resource needed. We've doubled, just in the last few months, doubled the size of our space. We're hiring folks left and right, top-notch senior level executives to help us take it to the next level. We're acquiring complementary brands that give more value to you, our members, really taking it where we are so far ahead of our friendly competition that we have, that it would, anybody that doesn't see us as the only option is someone we'd rather not work with, because the
Right.
respectfully, they're not a good fit.
Well, Red, look, this time, believe it or not, our time is winding down here, but one last quick question for you. I mean, we have people that are listening that are still going through, should I or shouldn't I? Should I pick up the phone and investigate and research, being my own, owning my own business? Again, franchising isn't for everybody. There are certain, there's a certain personality, certain character, the ability to follow a process, but also someone who can delegate. And again, business ownership may be an independent. And of course, my belief is I'd rather you find out now through our process that franchising is not for you than after you've made a considerable investment. And then 6 months, a year down the road, you find out, wow, I should have listened to that person, my consultant, when they told me this wasn't a good idea. But is it safe to say that, if you're just a little bit intrigued, pick up the phone, call a consultant, call somebody who's an expert in the industry, or somebody who's knowledgeable about the industry, somebody who has a passion about helping others? Just,
if you're yes, absolutely, do the research and connect with some folks. If you're a know-it-all, don't. If you're a know-it-all and you it's your way or the highway, you think you're the smartest person in the room and in the country, don't go to franchising route. If you want to be in business for yourself, but as we always say, not by yourself, you want a true support structure, guides, the investment is worth 10 times what it really is, because of the support, the camaraderie, the buying power, and all the other wonderful things that franchising can give. So yes, do a little research. You owe it to yourself, your family, and your legacy and your livelihood to look at your options. Life is short. Why live your life in a miserable or unfulfilling, unrewarding financially or otherwise position when you have legitimate options? And a lot of these options you'll never find on your own without a guide like Scotty Milas and so many wonderful others. So yes, absolutely, do the research. There's never an obligation.
And the franchising industry still is strong. It continues to get stronger. It's a player in entrepreneurship. It's definitely a big option to think about. It's not a small blimp on the radar anymore. It's a big blimp. It's
trillion-dollar business.
When you think about 4,000 brands out there worldwide, having somebody to help you steer that course and kind of find that ideal business, something that you can be successful for, is great. So
it is.
Red, any closing thoughts? Anything you want to add? I appreciate your time.
I get asked to do a lot of calls, and I don't do them all because they're a waste of time sometimes. Yours is not. You are one of the very best in the world, and I respect you so much. I even put on a jacket for you. So I
feel bad that I'm in my comfy, my comfy clothes. We won't talk about the waist down, but we'll, my comfy clothes for the waist up. But,
I like the hat, IFPG 10-year anniversary hat.
Yeah,
brother. Well, if anybody wants to learn more, IFPG.org is certainly our website. Tell you what, if you have a little handle on what we do and you're interested in really understanding even more, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, so Red Boswell, R-E-D Boswell, it's on the screen there, and let's connect on LinkedIn. Or you don't even have to connect with me. Just scroll down. My profile's public. Just scroll down a hair and you'll see the featured section. I did a video there in the featured section. Very first thing you'll see, I think I have a light blue shirt on. I might redo it soon, but it's about 22 minutes, but I just explain all the things you should consider when looking at becoming a franchise consultant. So people tell me that's really helpful to help them understand not only IFPG, but franchise consulting as a whole. And then if you're looking to buy a franchise or invest in franchises, nobody better than Scotty right there.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Red. Listen, I don't know if I'll get a chance to talk to you before Thanksgiving rolls around, but I wish you and your family a great Thanksgiving. It's a great holiday, one of my favorite holiday. I mean,
We have so much
it's
to be thankful for.
yeah, it really is. We're in a great country, regardless of our hiccups, what we think are our hiccups. They're probably not hiccups. I always call them a little blimp on the radar, but we live in a great country, and entrepreneurship is alive and well.
Freedom.
And small
Yes.
business is that. And believe it or not, and I'll close with this, a lot of people think that franchise is not an independent business. In some ways, it is an independent business. You're running your business. You know,
You own it.
the thought process that a franchisor is going to run your business for you, you got to run it, and you have a say in it. So,
Big
but
time.
Red, thanks
Yes.
very much. I appreciate your time. We'll have you, the website, your LinkedIn profile up for people to run, to contact you or reach out to me, and I can help you kind of talk more about being a consultant or a franchise.
Yep.
But then again, so this is Scotty Milas, ScottMilasFranchiseCoach.com. Another episode of All Things Considered Franchising. Know your know and know your why. Thanks, Red. 3,
Thanks, Scotty.
2, 1.